You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Excited for you to join me today on this Mindset and Motivation Monday, where we are going to be taking you through the exact exercise I literally use in my practice. I would say at least on a weekly basis. I teach this to my lifestyle medicine concierge private clients, as well as my private mentorship clients. Every single one of these people who are in these specialty programs go through this exercise as a way to begin to look at their life in a different pattern. Meaning that I can't think of a person that I've worked with right now who isn't struggling in some aspect to increase their happiness or make it a little bit more predictable. Because for most of us, we catch happiness, right? We catch it for an hour or 2 hours or maybe even a weekend, but it seems to be this thing that's elusive or ephemeral or fleeting in some way. It's like a feeling that we can't seem to hold on to, that we can't seem to make it predictable. And that's what today's podcast is really all about. I really think of myself as more of a practical person, just someone who's a problem solver. And I see things in life that essentially as puzzles. So I know that everything that we need in life, there's puzzle pieces for, meaning like the entire puzzle has already been created. But here's the problem, though. It's scattered all over the place. So we have to find the pieces to be able to put the puzzle together. But the pieces are there. They really are. And the problem is, though, most of us are trying to put together the puzzle without that picture in the front of the box. And think about how difficult that is. If you don't have the picture, if you don't know what you're shooting for, it's extremely difficult to even look for the puzzle pieces in the first place. So what I want to do today is to let people understand that every day of your life is not going to be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. It's just not. However, we can create more days than not in our life, certainly more than you have right now, with predictable happiness. And I want to show you because there really is a formula. And I didn't know this formula for a long time. I'm sure someone taught it to me. I didn't make this up. I'm positive about that. I don't know if it came from a lot of different resources that I just put into one thing that I now teach people, but there's a magic to this that I believe that once you go through it, and it's very simple, but I need you to dedicate about 20 minutes to 30 minutes to this, okay? So what I want you to do is this. Listen to today's podcast, but then during lunch today, have lunch by yourself, okay? Or before bed, take 20 to 30 minutes by yourself. If you live with a partner, a spouse, you have family, whatever it is, wait till everyone else is in bed. This is worth it. This is honestly worth it to spend a little bit of time, 20 to 30 minutes. Of course, you can refine this in the future. You absolutely can. Things change in life. I'm not saying that, but I'll tell you, you're going to find out essentially who you are, what makes you tick, and what is your happy place. So let's get right into the exercise. This is not going to be a long show, and the reason is that I want you to listen to this show multiple times. Every time you feel like you're just out of your zone, that life is not going your way, it's because you're not following the system. All right, so let's get started. What I want you to do is this. I want you to grab a single sheet of paper, not a whole notebook, not everything. Now, you can use a moleskin notebook. You can use your Epic planner. You can use any one of those things. If you're using a moleskin or your planner, what you want to do is just have 2 blank sheets of paper, one on the left side, one on the right side. Very, very important, okay? Now, if you're like me, the very first time I did this, I took out a piece of printer paper. That's it, 8.5 by 11. I folded it in half, and then I drew a line down the middle. That's what I want you to do. On the left-hand side, I want you to write down happy. And on the right-hand side, I want you to write down unhappy. We're going to keep this really simple. Remember, the brain works best when looking at things like bullet points or short statements. It can take those things in very easily. That's why whenever I have a meeting with one of my team members as well, as they say, I don't want a paragraph of everything that was done for the day or done on the week. All I want are the bullet points. That allows me to absorb and look at the overall pattern. Remember, what I do is this is literally how I look at my practice in helping people get well, lose the weight, anti-aging, create the best life ever. That's really what we're talking about. Is my job is to look at pattern recognition, and to be able to solve that problem. I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that in your own life. All right. So here's what we want to do. On that left side that says happy, I want you to literally write down everything in your life that makes you happy. I want you to write down all the times that you enjoy. I want you to write down the times where time seems to fly by, where you're doing an activity and the next thing you look up and an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours has passed. This is your zone. That is your happy place. That is literally what we need to look at of the activities that naturally bring you joy. Now remember, your happy times are not going to be the same as mine, or your happy place is not going to be the same as mine or anyone else's. But what we need to look at are all the things in your work, family life, all the things that are bringing you happiness right now, okay? Keep it simple. Just do that. Write it on the left-hand side. Now, on the right-hand side, what I want you to do is write down all of the times that make you unhappy, where time seems to drag on, and that you literally cannot wait for the day to end. And we've all been there, right? So what are those times? What are all the unhappy times with work, right? What are not all things about work, but what are the parts of work that make you unhappy? Just like on the left-hand side, what are the parts of work that make you happy? What are the parts of the relationship that make you happy? What are the parts of the relationship that make you unhappy? Same thing. Write those down. Really, really important. And of course, all the things that you're doing them and you're like, wow, like I just can't wait for this day to end. Write those down. Super important. So what I want to do now is to make this a little bit more concrete, because maybe you're questioning like, oh, well, what should I write down? What should I not write down? Okay. Let's give you some places to look at on the left-hand side. I'm going to give you my examples. Okay. So this is my life. And I'm happy to share these things because literally I'm an open book, and I try to be an open book because I do feel like I've gone from a place of, I would say, real darkness, kind of whatever that means, right? It's kind of a meta term right there. But the truth is that I don't think I was a really happy person. Now I had moments of happiness, but I don't think I was a very happy person until probably around 27, 28 years old, where that's when I had real control. I started to get real control of my life. Now, I wouldn't say that I had full mastery of my life until, let's say, my early 30s. That is when I feel like I then, 5 years of really being in it, that I had real mastery of my life. So this is a journey. Today, I feel like I do have full mastery of my life. Now, does that mean that literally, like I said, every single day is rainbows and sunshine and unicorns? It's not. And I'm not saying that, and it's not going to be that for you as well. But most of my time, I'm in my happy place. I really am. And that's because I figured it out in the first place. And then after months and years, designed a life around that, right? That truly designed a life around that. And yes, it just takes a little time. But first, you need to even know what you're shooting for in the first place, right? If you don't know that, you can't create this life that you love. And that's really what it's all about. So now when people bring a project to me, or there's a new work opportunity, or my wife and my family, and we're thinking about, what makes us happy, what we want to do, I weigh that against my left-hand happy side or my right side of unhappiness. And if it would cause more of the right-hand column, which I'm about to share with you in a moment, I don't do it. If it means more money, I don't do it. If it means more even free time, I don't do it. Any of those things, I don't do it because those things aren't important. What's important to me is staying within that happy side. And as you're about to see, none of it has to do with money, or none of it has to do with those, we'll call it commercial-based things. All of it has to do with feelings, right, of what you're doing, of what you're accomplishing. So let's look at that right now. Okay, so on my left-hand column, and again, it's not going to be the same as yours. Don't think that it should be. You don't have to copy my left-hand column. I want to use this as an example for you, and then also just show you that I want to be that open book. People can judge me however they want. That's okay. You're going to get to a place in your life where other people's thoughts of you, that's their business. It really is. What people think of me is none of my business. It's honestly not. And it took me a while to get there, but because I know that I'm living the life that I'm supposed to be living. And again, that's not everyone's life. So if people think like, oh, well, that's not how I would live my life, and then they put that judgment on me, like, that's okay. Because that's not the way that you're supposed to be living your life, but this is the way that I'm supposed to be living mine. So again, whatever you write down is pure. Keep it that way. You don't have to show it to anyone else. I'm just showing you mine as a starting place. Okay, so my left-hand column looks like this, and I've done this many times. My left-hand column looks like this. Work-wise, when I'm writing, okay, when I'm writing a book, when I'm writing an article, when I'm writing a how-to, when I'm doing anything in that regards, happy place. Time is flying by, okay? When I'm meeting with anyone in my concierge practice, my functional medicine practice, with whether it's anti-aging, wellness, weight loss, any of those things, that time flies by. That hour, half hour flies by. When I'm speaking on stage to a crowd, at a seminar, at whatever, time flies by. I love that. I could do it all day. Okay, when I'm shooting videos, when I'm shooting how-to YouTube videos, which I'll be doing in the future, time flies by. I love it. It's really engaging for me. There's energy that comes out, meaning like your happy side should also be energy producing. That's another good way to look at it. I actually wasn't thinking about that in the beginning of this podcast, but when you're in your happy place, you naturally have a little increase in energy. Now, if you're someone dealing with chronic fatigue, it doesn't mean you're going to be totally alive and well, but you get that little burst like, hey, like I feel a little bit better. That's a great sign. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Another thing is understanding is that your happy side is usually your gift, right? I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a moment because I know a lot of people, they have a difficult time finding out what their gift is, what their innate talent is that you can't even really teach, right? Another thing is writing Instagram posts is just, again, writing, okay? Being out there, teaching the how-to, recording this podcast. Whenever, honestly, if I'm ever having a bad day, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment as well, I can record a podcast. It just flips that switch. It flips a switch because I'm in my zone. I'm recording this. I'm trying to share something with others that I believe would benefit them. Another place that I'm in my happy zone is when I'm exercising. When I'm exercising, I love that. I feel focused. I feel engaged. When I'm reading, so this is outside of the work. When I'm reading, time flies by. When I was doing 3-4 hours of reading a day, when I was going for my degree, the time flew by. Like, honestly, I could have kept going. I really could have. My alarm would go off on my phone. It's like, okay, go home, see the family, all that. And so that was, this was before I had kids, but go home and at least see my wife. And we need to have our family time as well. That's really, really important too, because my next thing on my happy list is spending time with family and friends, is making sure that I have that balance. Really, really important, because if I'm too engaged in my work, well, then I'm upset that I didn't get to see my family enough, if I have to travel for work. And then if I'm with my family for like a week straight and I don't get to do any work, I actually start to get anxious as well, because I'm like, well, I want to do this thing that I love, that I'm passionate about too. So it's finding that balance. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, okay? And the last one is travel. Travel to new places. That to me is learning. So, and again, I'm going to pull this together in just a moment, but I want to also share with you what my negatives are, okay? So that was my left-hand side. It was just a quick recap. It was writing. It was meeting with private concierge-based clients on helping them to improve their best life. It was speaking on stage. It was shooting videos. It was writing Instagram posts. It was recording this podcast. It's reading. It's exercising outside especially. It's traveling, and then also spending some downtime, some quiet time with family and friends. Okay, my right-hand column is this. It's reading email and responding to email, okay? It's listening to negative people about not anything they struggle with. That's not a negative person. A struggle is not negative. A negative is, I can't, I won't, that won't work for me. It's a defeated mentality. And I believe the reason why this is a big negative for me is that I was there. And I think deep down in my subconscious, I fear ever going back there. So what happens is when I listen to the I can't, it's not working, this, and it's like this defeatism and this victim-based mentality. And I was there. That was my life. I literally 27, maybe not that long, but 25 years of my life being the victim and feeling defeated. And when I hear that, I just think it brings me back to being a kid. And it's hard for me to listen to. So that zaps my energy, and that's an unhappy place. Again, those people aren't wrong. They have that right to feel that way. I felt that way. I had the right to feel that way. But for me, just zaps me. It really brings me back to a bad place. Doing any type of human resources, what does that mean? It means like dealing with again, I'll talk about my wellness center, all those types of things in the future. But, having 20 people, 25 people on the team and just, again, listening to someone can't make it into work or whatever it might be. These are all normal things. Like, these are human things, but I'm not the best at that, which I want to share in a moment. Like, these are normal. Like, they're not bad things. No. And if someone doesn't show up for work or whatever it is, like, there's not a judgment on my part. I'm just not good at dealing with those things. Okay. Now, I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Okay. Any type of customer support. I'm the worst at that. Probably the worst. I really am. And hanging around with no plans, like just no plans. Like, I love my vacation time, love being with my family, and I can do a day of nothing, but I can't do 2 days of nothing. I'm not that type of person. Now, before it'd be like, you need to learn how to relax. No. Like, I'm not the type of person. I know me. I can just hang out, like, especially when I go to Maine. I can hang out and do absolutely nothing, but not 2 days of that. So the next day, I might be doing something with our small garden that we created. I might be taking a drive, doing something. I might be trying to figure out, do paddleboarding. Like, I have to do something with my time, and those are all the things. And again, it can't just be like, oh, well, go outside and play with your daughters. Sure, absolutely. And I do that. But it would also be more like, hey, tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do. And we're going to wake up, we're going to go out to breakfast. And then after that, I'm going to take the girls to a farm. We're going to go, to one of our favorite farms. We're going to pick out some produce. I'm going to show them the rabbits, like that type of thing. Like, that's downtime, but I have a plan. Okay. So I'm not very good. My wife actually makes fun of me. And I'll just give you a little insight into our personal life. I start to walk around with my hands in my pocket. Like, I'd be the worst poker player in the world. I literally have a tell. I walk around, my hands are in my pocket, and I start to pace. And so my wife makes fun of me. She goes, uh-oh, Steve's got his hands in his pockets, or Daddy's got his hands in his pockets. And I'm just like, that's me. I'm just not that type of person. And that's not what makes me tick. And so trying to work on that, as I want to teach you right now, is not what you should do. It's honestly not. Because then it takes away from a lot of who I am that allows me to be in my happy place. So now here's what I want you to do. You know a little bit about me. I want you to create your own pattern. For you, your negatives, might be speaking on stage or being at a meeting. Like, that for you might be the worst. You might be more of a numbers-based person. So all of my things are very, very similar. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to look for pattern recognition. This is what I do. This is why if someone enters into our practice and they work with one of my health coaches or they work with me, the first consultation is 1 hour and you don't get any recommendations except for what labs we feel are appropriate for you. Why? We are looking at pattern recognition. You haven't been able to get well in the past, you haven't been able to lose weight, and you're not at your best health. You're not aging as best as you can. What we need to do is figure this out once and for all. So when I look at these two lists and I have a lifestyle medicine concierge client do this, or a private mentorship client, whatever it might be, and you can do this yourself. Okay, here's what I do. I look for the patterns. And when I did this myself, I looked at it and I said, wow, all my happy place, my zone is literally one thing for work and one other thing for personal. That's it. I only have one thing that makes me happy in life. Now, there's a lot of subsets of that, but I don't know if you can guess it. Think about it. Here's a recap. Writing, working with private concierge clients, speaking on stage, shooting videos, writing articles or Instagram posts, recording this podcast. If you can think about that, what am I doing? Every single one of those is teaching. Every single one is teaching. During a private concierge client meeting, or whether it's over Skype or in person, I'm teaching. I'm educating. The second appointment with us is teaching your lab results, is educating you on your labs. And then you're getting your private wellness plan. Again, this is not me promoting that. This is what we do. And then our third call, because it's always 3 appointments, always 3 months. We never do less than that because our goal is to get people well. You don't get well in one appointment. It's just not going to happen. It's like, okay, you did one personal training appointment, one piano lesson, one swim lesson. Good luck. Like, you're not going to get anything out of that. You need follow-ups. You need a plan and you need follow-ups. And so no matter who you're working with, that's just, you have to have that mindset. You're not going to learn everything in one time. But look at that. Look at my happy place is one thing, teaching. If I'm teaching, I'm happy. And I could teach, that's the thing is like, put me on stage, give me a microphone, doing an interview with someone, shooting a YouTube video, writing, every single one of those things is teaching. That is my zone of happiness. And then, so here's the thing. How would I increase more happiness in my life? Well, I'll get to that in a moment, but it would have to do with something around teaching, right? Yes, exactly. And that's what it's always about. So in the future, I'm going to be creating a certification for your everyday person, as well as health practitioners, okay? What is that? It's more teaching. Now I'm just teaching at a different level. So that's what it's all about. Like, I know my zone now. And what is my personal now? What's my personal happy place? Adventure and learning new things. That's it. When I was overseas studying, when I take my family on a trip anywhere in the world, when I'm with my daughters and I'm taking them to a farm or whatever it might be, yes, it's downtime, it's quiet time, but it's also adventure. We're learning things. We're seeing different aspects to the world. I'm broadening my horizons. When I'm reading, what am I doing? It's basically adventure. Like, I read books on psychology. I read books on like social culture and all these different things. And then, of course, more health because I'm learning. So those are my zones. Okay, I'm going to talk about how to get more of this. Now, what are my negatives? Well, my negatives are any time where I feel like I'm wasting my time, right? But really the negatives are what I'm not teaching. So if I'm in customer support or human resources, it's not that those are bad things and I don't like them or I can't do them. But what's the issue? Is it takes me away from my true zone of happiness, which is teaching, because customer service or human resources is responding to problems. I don't get to teach. I have to be reactive rather than proactive. So what do? Well, I've literally spent the last month and last couple of years, but the last month especially, hiring people in my company that are great at customer service, much better than me, right? So we have 2 new great customer service people that answer emails. We have 2 more health coaches. They're able to answer more of the cabralsupportgroup.com Facebook posts. I love doing those as well. So don't get me wrong. I'm in there a bunch of times a week. I'm reading everything over. I'm also responding to that. I love that. That's not out of my zone of happiness. It still is. And then I've hired great operations people as well. So those are the people that can handle like inventory and fulfillment and human resources and customer, all the things that are not in my zone. Again, like, could I do them? Sure. But they take me away from my zone of happiness, which is a couple hours a day. So now, how did I make my life a happier one? Well, what I did was once I recognized my zone of happiness, my happy place, I needed to create more predictable happiness. So I wasn't going through these highs and lows during the day or during the week or during the months. So this is what I did. Gradually, I started to shift away for the most part, all of my email. I shifted away all the customer support, all of the human resource things, all of the downtime, wasted time, not having a plan. Each day now has a plan. Even on the weekends, like for the most part, sure, it's like downtime, but I'm taking my daughters to swim lessons. We're going over one of our cousins' house. I'm planning a night out to dinner with my wife. Like, there are plans. So it's not just like, oh, well, we're just going to hang out this weekend. Sure. Like, totally fine with that every once in a while, but I like to have some plan. So what I did was if you look at my schedule, I have big creative days, Mondays and Thursdays, okay? Those are days for more podcast recording. Those are days for more writing. Those are days for more shooting videos, okay? And then my Tuesdays are more for mentorship clients, body transformation. Wednesdays is a full day of meeting with concierge-based clients. Fridays is half a day of meeting with the private concierge clients, as well as my big picture team meetings in the afternoon, and then a little bit of a longer, more like self-care in the afternoon. So exercise at the gym, maybe massage, definitely sauna, all of those things as well. So I've talked about those before. So I'm getting everything in. And then Friday night, late Friday afternoon, Friday night, all the way through the weekend is complete family time, no real work at all. So that to me, and again, it might not, to you, that might not seem like enough downtime, might not seem like whatever. That's the perfect balance for me. Home at night to have dinner with the family, give my girls a bath, read them a story, tuck them in, spend time with my wife. Perfect. That works for me. Start the day pretty early in the morning, so I'm able to get some me time. And then, then my day is what it is. And then on the weekends, it's quiet time with the family. And then I have vacations scheduled in throughout the year. I've got my travel. So literally, this is a life by design. I created it to exactly work for me. This is not going to work for you necessarily, unless you're like me, and maybe you are. And then this is what you're looking to do. So what I want you to do is this. I want you to have the column on the left, column on the right. Is there anything on the right-hand column that you can change? Meaning are there people that you hang out with? Okay, so I had people that I hung out with, whether they were clients, whether they were whatever, that I had to let go. I have to let you go because you're dragging me down. Now, it doesn't mean we can't reconnect in the future, but right now I need to focus on me because I'm the best me oh, I'm going to be able to give so much more back to other people. I'm going to be able to serve so much better because I'm in a happier place. I can be more creative. Okay, so is there anything that you can delegate on the right-hand column? Is there someone else at work? Is there a family member? Is there someone you can hire for less money than you make per hour? Because if you can work more hours, more time in your zone of happiness and make more money, well, then maybe you can start to delegate some of those things. Or even if it's a 1-for-1. Let's say you make $20 an hour and can do more of those $20 an hour tasks. Can you pay someone else $20 an hour to do some of the things that you don't like? Because again, the things that you don't like could be the zone of happiness for someone else. So I hire people in my company that would hate to do podcasts, that would hate to do writing, that would hate to speak on stage, but they love doing the accounting and the numbers and the operations, right? So that's their zone. It's not mine. So I hire someone who's opposite to me and we work great together. That's what you're supposed to do in your life. I really don't believe you're always supposed to bring up your weaknesses. You're supposed to really play to your strengths. That's where you just leapfrog in life. You just jump tremendously. So the goal is then, how can I get more hours per day? And this is probably a topic for another day. But then I look at all of the days during my week. And so this gets a little bit more in depth. But you want to look at what percentage of your week or what percentage of your day is spent doing your happy zone, okay, your happy place, and what percentage is in the negative zone. So what I try to do over time is get into 100% happiness zone and 0% unhappiness zone. Now, I don't believe that's achievable because I've been doing this a long time. But I do believe it could be like 90-10, okay? I still do human resource meetings. I still do et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually don't mind them now because I understand that you can't do all of your zone and happiness all the time because sometimes it's like reclusive, right? And I want to be with my team because I love my team and I love all of those things. And I actually like customer support and I love all that type of stuff as well. I just can't be in that full time. So if I have the balance, it works tremendously for me. So I believe try to shoot for like at least 80%, aim for 90%, 10 to 20% on the unhappy zone. But remember, now even that 10 to 20% on the unhappiness zone isn't unhappy for me anymore. And the reason is that I know by doing those things, I get to do more of the thing in the left-hand column. And I also understand the yin-yang of life. The Taoism of life is that you have to have both, right? You have to have both because if I never had any of the, not in my happiness zone, my I don't even want to call it unhappy anymore, just not of the things that I'm best at, I have to have some of that because I have to have that juxtaposed with all of my happy things because my happy things, then I get to compare that to my things where I'm not as happy and I get to then be grateful that I've had this life that I've designed that works really well for me. So hopefully this makes sense. We'll be teaching a lot more about this in May at our business detox retreat, which is actually a work-life harmony retreat. If you're looking to get into coaching, if you're looking to be more of an entrepreneur, if you're looking to balance your life, that's what this is all about. Go to businessdetoxretreat.com. By going to that website, you will actually find out more about all of these things we'll be doing. This is for a small group of people, about a dozen people that we're going to be inviting to the Boston area, just north of Boston. Myself and the amazing Dave Ruel will be putting that on. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. I'll link up the Business Detox Retreat at stephencabral.com/766. And thank you again so much for tuning in. It means so much to me. Please do feel free to pass this show on to anyone you believe it could help. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.